Who doesn't love a good laugh, especially when it comes at someone else's expense? If you find watching hidden camera shows extremely amusing, then you must have heard about 4 guys who enjoy performing incredibly embarrassing pranks in public. This upside-down hidden camera show, named Impractical Jokers, is both extremely fun and sometimes impossible to watch, as 4 friends are capable of doing almost everything in order to embarrass each other. James Murray, Brian Q. Quinn, Joseph Joe Gatto, and Salvatore Sal Volcano have known each other since meeting at school in 1990 and grew up performing comedy together in Staten Island, New York. It had all begun as a harmless need to make others laugh and clowning around during highly inappropriate moments at school, which later led to a formation of a comedy troupe called the Tenderloins. After entering a comedy competition for an NBC show called It's Your Show and winning the top prize of $100,000 for the group's entry called Time Thugs, the famous 4 invested their money into the pilot of what is now known as Impractical Jokers. Starting from 2011, we've begun to feel like we know these guys, especially because of the revealing nature of the show, which leaves very few parts of the Joker's private lives off limits from being on public display. Nevertheless, there are plenty of secrets and behind-the-scenes stories that some fans aren't aware of. So without any further ado, let's take a look at a few things you may not have known about the most entertaining group of friends in America. When they first started the show, it was only the 4 guys in control of everything, who even shot the pitch episode for True TV in 2010 with their iPhones. After the first 2 seasons, they managed to hire some writers to help them with writing new jokes, but the show still lacks a good narrator, though getting one was the plan initially. However, the plan didn't work out since the team had wanted to have none other than Star Trek: The Next Generation's leading man Patrick Stewart to provide the voiceover narration for the show. During the Ask a Joker web chat following the final episode of the 4th season, Murr told everyone that they had wanted the narrator to be Patrick Stewart, and they wanted him to hate them. In the end, Stewart did end up making an appearance in the show when the guys went to New York's Madame Tussauds Wax Museum, while the team ended up with a duo of Drew Patterson and Bill St. James, the underrated glue that holds the show together. It seems that these friends can't live without their jobs, since even when the cameras are off, they still continue with their passion and pull pranks on each other. In a Comedy Central UK interview, the foursome discussed how they play tricks on each other constantly. Cameras rolling or not, these 4 can always find ways of getting at each other. And, as expected, Murr seems to be the object of their pranks every time. Their favorite prank involved Murr when they slowly and in small increments increased the tip on the receipt whenever Murr was distracted after going to a restaurant. They kept adding digits secretly every so often just as long as Murr wasn't watching. On the other side, the guys had decided not to test Joe's limits, convinced that he is able to do pretty much anything proposed to him just for laughs. Although it seems like they don't ever lay off each other in private, the team does have some time when they want to go shopping without setting up any shenanigans. Since the show has become so popular, it is much harder for the guys now to camouflage themselves within New York in order to pull off their pranks, but also to convince some people they are not doing the filming on their free time. Joe shared a story of an older woman who started screaming when she saw them shop at a retail store, and then told them they were not going to get her after she looked for cameras. Another thing happened to Sal at the Santiago Sent Us tour when he pulled up to a couple of girls on the street and demanded they get in the van. Rather than screaming and running away, one of them exclaimed "Sal" and pointed excitedly at the Joker she recognized. However, every now and then they use it to their advantage, mostly to steal cupcakes while the owners usually think they're just being pranked. So if you own a bakery, don't get too excited if the guys stroll in. They might just take it as an opportunity to grab something. Although these guys really enjoy pulling off some elaborate pranks that make them look like fools, doing it for a good cause is one thing they may enjoy more. As part of their 100th episode, the guys set up a high wire walk on live television, in which they challenged each other to walk the farthest. Hosted by Howie Mandel, the live event took place in New York City. Murr walked for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, Sal's charity was Doctors Without Borders, Joe hit the wire for Daniel's Music Foundation, and Q's charity was the Steven Siller Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Though in the end, Q ended up winning and donating $50,000 to his choice, the rest of the team received $10,000 donations to give to their corresponding charities.
Right.
Keep it.
Oh my God.
Okay, he's stepping. He's stepping. All right.
Ready?
In an episode called Strip High Five from season 2, Joe and Murr got the first double punishment to stand in front of hundreds of people in the middle of a public park in New York and take turns trying to get high fives.
High five. High five. Oh, Joe!
Every time someone didn't respond to their high five, the Joker needed to take one article of clothing off, and the game didn't stop until one of them was fully naked. After a really tight game, Murr ended up having to take his last clothing item off.
Ma'am, please give me a high five. Please give me a high five.
And since everyone just saw the blurry graphic, we couldn't help but wonder if Murr was really that brave. Well, in truth, he was wearing a special type of virtually transparent cloth over his privates. While he still didn't leave much to the imagination, it gave the team a saving clause in case the police intervened. When an intense show like this appears, people would assume that something, if not everything, has been staged. That shouldn't come as a surprise, keeping in mind the level of discomfort these guys sometimes need to get through. Well, according to the comedians, nothing is scripted on Impractical Jokers.
Can I wish for unmatchable power?
Genie does as you wish.
Genie?
Much to the audience's delight, every single uncomfortable moment is just as genuine as it appears to be. In an interview with Las Vegas magazine, Murr said, "The show must be real. Nothing's fake. Everything's 100% real, and it has to be. And I think you can tell. It's so obvious that it's real. You see it on our faces. I wish it was fake. Unfortunately, I live through it every day. It has to be because it has to. If it's not real, it doesn't work. We have to be nervous to do it. That's what makes it funny." However, though the pranks aren't staged, producers might intervene if an eager fan is threatening to ruin a scenario. 99% of people are extremely relaxed and easygoing when approached about being on the show. Typically, those people who are pranked are even more than happy to sign the release and appear on the show. However, there are still those who get angry.
You cannot do that! Give me the ball! That's wrong!
This one?
Stop! That is wrong!
Often not because they get offended, but because they don't like the idea of being on TV in general. Some of those people ask to be blurred out or cut out entirely. But on really rare occasions, if footage involving them was gold, as Sal puts it, they are offered a little financial motivation to play along. So, although most of the people who appear on the series get absolutely nothing, you should probably keep this information in mind in case you come across the Jokers. And who knows, maybe these tactics will work for you. Surely everyone has noticed a few episodes where it was very clear that Q was suffering from an illness. Aside from his on-off battle with depression that he has been talking about for years, it turns out that the delayed filming that happened at one point was because Q had suffered from something a little bit more serious than that. After a series of invasive tests administered by 4 doctors, a regimen of serious antibiotics, and a misdiagnosis of Lyme disease, Q found out he was actually suffering from serious encephalitis and meningitis. So, as of August 2017, Q has had the second least amount of punishments at 36, and he has also done the least challenges out of all the Jokers due to his health concerns. When in season 1, Impractical Jokers fans heard Joe shouting out the name Larry in the middle of their challenges.
Larry! Larry! I was calling you, Larry! Larry!
Almost everyone thought Larry was a fictional character that Joe had made up. The truth is, Larry is actually a crew member that goes by the name Larry Krisky. The Jokers got into the habit of using his name as an inside joke, which took a dark turn in 2016. Namely, the guys still frequently used Larry's name, although he was no longer in the show, which apparently made Larry quite angry. It turns out he got tired of the Jokers using his name and decided to sue the show's producer for $500,000 because of it.
Larry! 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 Larry!
Nevertheless, they've continued to use the name, so perhaps all parties involved were able to come to an agreement regarding the show's use of the name Larry. It goes without saying that nothing would have been the same if the most mentioned name was out of the picture.
Thank you for checking this video out, and don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe for new videos every day. Turn that bell notification on and comment down below that you subscribed, and we'll make sure to reply and thank as many of you as we possibly can. Once again, thank you for watching and see you next time.